Marina Ortega unlocked her stall at 5:15 a.m., long before most of the city had shaken sleep from its eyes. At Dawnwell Market, however, morning drowsiness evaporated quickly, tugged away by the scents of damp soil, citrus leaves, and spring blossoms. Forklifts beeped, crates thudded to pavement, and vendors called greetings across rows of geraniums, peonies, and fragrant herbs. Marina specialized in unusual blooms, Persian fritillaries, spiral orchids, and her most prized specialty, Tulipa caerulea, the elusive naturally blue tulip bred only by a handful of growers in the world. She'd worked 3 years to secure a single annual crate from a Dutch greenhouse. This year's supply, 30 stems of luminous cobalt, had arrived just in time for the upcoming state visit of Princess Elin of Arvenia. City Hall had commissioned Marina to create the ceremonial bouquet to be presented when the princess stepped off her train tomorrow morning. Protecting those flowers felt like guarding moonstones. Marina kept them in an insulated case behind her stall, where a portable chiller maintained optimal humidity. Each time she checked, their blue petals shimmered like summer twilight turning glassy over water. The mayor's aide, Tamika Dupré, would collect the finished bouquet at 4 this afternoon. That left Marina one day to fuss over every detail. She was tying velvet ribbon around a stem of baby's breath when someone rapped on the wooden frame. "Morning, Detective Vega," Marina called, looking up into a familiar smile. Amy Vega used the market as a shortcut to her precinct and rarely resisted stopping for coffee brewed by Marina's neighbor, Old Greg. "Morning, florist extraordinaire," Amy said. She held up 2 steaming paper cups. "I bribed Greg for your house blend." Marina grinned and accepted the cup. "You're going to spoil me." "Already spoiled." Amy inhaled deeply. "Smells like heaven. Are these the famous royal tulips?" Marina angled her body so no passing customer could see. "In the cooler, yes. I'll assemble them in an hour, then they never leave my sight." Amy saluted playfully. "Holler if you need backup. I'm on paperwork duty today, which means I'll be bored enough to investigate missing petals." Marina laughed. The detective continued toward the subway entrance at the end of the lane. Marina sipped her coffee, letting warmth spread through her chest. She would finish the bouquet, deliver it, and maybe, if the stars aligned, sleep in tomorrow. She set the coffee aside, unlocked the chiller case, and withdrew the tulips onto a cushioned bench. Their color glowed even in the market's half-light. She set about selecting the 12 most flawless stems. A pair of teenagers paused to admire them, but moved on when Marina lifted an admonishing eyebrow. She trimmed, arranged, and steadied the stems with silver floral wire. Shortly before 8, she stepped back, heart thudding with satisfaction. The bouquet was simple, meant to display the blue without distraction. 12 tulips, tiny sprays of white waxflower, and a circlet of silvery eucalyptus. She misted everything, then slid the arrangement into a tall presentation box lined with pale tissue. Finally, she tucked the box onto an upper shelf at the back of the stall, where shadows disguised its presence. Only she had noticed the new shelf bracket she'd installed last night. The morning quickened. Customers bought armfuls of daffodils, vendors shouted last-minute changes, and a trio of violinists struck up a jaunty tune near the fountain. Marina wrapped bouquets, counted change, exchanged jokes. By noon, every bucket of sunflowers was gone. At 2:45 p.m., Tamika texted to say she'd arrive early. "Traffic looks ugly. May need to speed this along." Marina sent back a thumbs up, then reached for the presentation box, but touched only air. The shelf was empty. Her blood chilled. She moved aside her spare vases, stepped onto a stool, patted the dark recesses. Gone. No tissue scraps, no stray petal. She lunged to the chiller case, yanked it open. Inside rested a second bouquet, carefully bound in velvet ribbon, but the tulips here were dull sky blue, edges stiff, and when Marina lifted a stem, a watery drip stained her fingers indigo. Dyed, cheap imposters. Her stomach pitched. She'd seen supermarket tulips dunked in dye baths. These matched that garish tone precisely. Someone had stolen the genuine bouquet and replaced it with fakes so she wouldn't notice until perhaps tomorrow, when it would be too late to undo the embarrassment to the city, or worse, to her reputation. Marina inhaled shakily, gathered her composure, and dialed Amy. The detective answered on the third ring. I was hoping that ring meant coffee refill. I just discovered a theft. My blue tulips are gone, replaced with dyed ones. Silence, then Amy's tone sharpened. Anyone hurt? Immediate danger? Only my career. Could you come? Quietly. I'm on my way. Don't touch anything else. Marina ended the call and scanned her stall. Money box locked, other stock undisturbed. The switch had happened within the last 6 hours, inside a crowded market where dozens of eyes watched everything. Someone daring, someone who knew her schedule. She summoned Claude from stall 17, who occasionally minded hers for restroom breaks. Claude, a genial retired teacher, approached wiping pruner blades on a rag. Claude, emergency. Could you keep selling while I speak with the police? He blinked. Police? My royal bouquet was stolen. Claude's bushy eyebrows climbed. Good heavens, certainly. He slid behind the counter, giving Marina's shoulder a reassuring pat. Amy arrived 12 minutes later in plain clothes. Describe everything. The detective's notebook appeared, pen poised. Marina recounted the timeline: tulip arrival, display box assembly, placement on shelf, bustle of business, moment of discovery. Amy surveyed the stall. Anyone else who knew exact location? Only me, Marina said, but hesitated. Yesterday my apprentice, Jonah, asked where I'd put them. I joked I'd hide them on top of the Ferris wheel. Amy made a mark. Still, we should talk to Jonah. Anyone acting suspicious today? Marina conjured faces. Teenagers, elderly regulars, an influencer live-streaming roses, tourist couples. Nothing flagged. Detective Vega inspected the dyed bouquet. Amateur job. Stem ends still show dye ring. Whoever swapped them assumed you wouldn't look until delivery. Marina's eyes burned. The city will never trust me again. Hold that conclusion. Amy gestured at the surrounding vendors. We'll canvass. She requested CCTV from market security, then pulled disposable gloves from her blazer to dust the shelf for prints. Within an hour, she returned with news. Jonah's alibi checks. He's at botanical illustration class. Professor confirmed. She flipped a page. Security cameras. Stall 12's feed cuts from 11:07 to 11:28 a.m. due to network glitch. Your shelf faces that lane. That small window, Marina whispered. Who passed through then? Working on it. Marina closed her stall early, heart clanging. She couldn't sit idle. An idea struck. If imposters came from a dye bath, maybe they were purchased here this morning. Few stalls bothered with dyed tulips. Purists avoided them. One seller, though, Rita Gables at Colour Splash Blooms, offered artificially tinted bouquets for weddings. Marina hurried down the cobbled aisle to Colour Splash. The shop burst with neon bright flowers, rainbow roses, electric blue chrysanthemums, turquoise baby's breath. Rita, petite and perpetually cheerful, arranged a tricolour garland around her cash register. Marina, Rita sang, Need a dash of cerulean? I'm investigating a problem, Marina said softly. Did anyone buy a dozen dyed blue tulips before noon? Rita tapped lacquered nails on her chin. I sold 2 dozen at 10:30, a rush order for sky blue with royal-looking ribbon. Do you remember who ordered them? I remember the messenger who picked up. Rita frowned. Tall woman, maybe 40, wore a city-issued vendor badge. She paid cash plus extra to keep receipt off books. Rita lifted a shoulder. Cash speaks. Did she give a name? She signed pickup slip. Hold on. Rita rummaged in a drawer and produced a carbon copy. In loopy handwriting, pickup, Evie. Below, a phone number. Marina thanked her and dialed Amy. The detective promised to trace the number. Evening shadows deepened along steel girders overhead as the skylights dimmed. Most vendors packed crates. Marina lingered, reluctant to go home. She counted how many genuine tulips she had left. None. Not even short stems for salvage. All 30 had vanished. Tamika phoned. Marina confessed the theft and begged for a chance to replace the bouquet by morning. The aide's tone was calm but urgent. If you can solve this within 12 hours, great. Otherwise, I must secure flowers elsewhere, though blue tulips that aren't dyed? Impossible. After they hung up, Marina sagged. Even if she found her tulips, their hydration clock ticked. Long hours without water could ruin them. Amy appeared just then, cheeks flushed from brisk walking. We traced the number Rita provided. It's registered to Evangeline Mott, owner of Stall 8, Posy and Parchment. Marina's pulse skipped. Stall 8 sold floral-themed stationery, pressed flower cards, botanical journals. Evangeline, Evie, was known for delicate calligraphy and a shy smile. She and Marina had exchanged friendly hellos for years. She wouldn't, Marina said automatically, then faltered. She didn't know Evie well outside market hours. Let's talk to her, Amy said. Stall 8 was shuttered, lights off. Amy knocked on the metal panel. Moments later, it clattered open a few inches, revealing Evie's anxious face framed by auburn curls. Detective Vega, Evie asked, is something wrong? We need to ask about dyed blue tulips you purchased today. Evie's eyes widened. Oh dear, did they spoil already? I only needed petals. For what purpose? Amy inquired. Evie opened the shutter fully. Inside, the stall looked like an apothecary laboratory. Mortars, pestles, tiny glass vials. I craft botanical inks, she explained. A patron requested a batch in ultramarine, so I experimented with tulip-based pigment. Dyed petals produce strong colour. Amy crossed arms. You paid cash, asked for no record. Evie flushed. I feared people might think dyeing is sacrilege. I didn't want gossip. She met Marina's gaze. You believe I stole your tulips? Marina hesitated. She studied Evie's pale face and ink-stained fingertips. The tulip thieves could simply have used them for pigment, but why select Marina's rare tulips when cheaper options existed? No, Evie seemed confused, not calculating. Can we see the petals? Amy asked. Evie led them to a back table where a shallow tray held blossoms. Marina leaned closer. The tulip petals were indeed dyed, same cheap sky blue as the switched bouquet. Amy photographed everything and bagged a few samples. Where were you between 11 and noon? The detective asked. Here, painting place cards for a wedding. Mr. Owen from Stall 5 visited at 11:15 to approve proofs. He'll confirm. They left Evie, promising follow-up. Outside, the market hummed with final clean-up. My gut says Evie's truthful, Amy muttered. Let's review the suspect list. They sat on a bench, Amy flipping her notes. Short timeline. Whoever stole bouquet must access your shelf unseen during camera outage. Suspect likely familiar with your stall. Knoxland Garden Supplies? No motive. Jonah, alibi, Evie, possibly, but seems unlikely. Rita, she openly deals dyed flowers. No reason to sabotage a colleague, unless someone hired a third party. Someone with vendor badge could roam freely unnoticed, Amy said. Marina thought of another detail. At 11 a.m. she'd run to the central sink to refill buckets. Claude hadn't arrived to cover yet. She'd locked the stall but returned within 7 minutes. When she came back, a cluster of tourists blocked her lane, studying a chalk artist drawing koi fish on pavement. Had the distraction been staged? Let's speak with the artist, she suggested. They located the chalk artist, May, packing supplies into a cart. She remembered the koi piece and the crowd. A lady hired me to start drawing precisely at 11:05 and promised extra if I could keep attention for 20 minutes. May shrugged. She wore a floppy hat, big sunglasses, business suit, paid cash. Amy's eyebrows shot up. Description matches? Tall woman, about 40? Maybe. Marina's nerves tingled. A tall woman, vendor badge, orchestrating diversions. Yet none of them recalled seeing such a figure daily. Amy paged security for data on temporary vendor badges issued lately. They learned 2 passes were printed this morning. One for a delivery driver, one for a market compliance inspector. Name illegible in hurried script, L. Sadowski. Marina frowned. No one liked compliance inspectors, surprise checkers of sanitation and safety codes. Many vendors would avoid eye contact, letting such a person wander unattended. Security provided badge photo. The inspector's face was grainy, but it looked feminine, angular, maybe early 40s. Let's pull compliance office records, Amy said. 10 minutes later, she whistled. No inspection scheduled today. The badge is forged. Can we trace application? Marina asked. It was issued after phone call from someone posing as commission office. Used generic authorization code. Amy paced. This is targeted. Someone impersonated inspector, set distraction, new camera blind window. Goal, sabotage you. But why? Marina cried. Amy blinked at her kindly. Let's examine competitors. Who else could supply blue tulips? No one local, Marina said. Unless, she paused. There's Arista Blooms uptown. They claimed to import a blue variety last year, but turned out to be dyed. Their scandal nearly killed business. Owner's name, Larissa Sadowski. Amy snapped fingers. L. Sadowski on badge. Everything clicked. Larissa once courted the royal event contract, but lost to Marina when officials demanded authentic blue tulips. Marina had presented documentation. Arista Blooms couldn't. She vowed revenge then, Marina whispered. I ignored her. Now Larissa had stolen Marina's bouquet, probably to deliver it herself as evidence of saving the day, or to ruin Marina so City would turn to Arista after fiasco. Where would she keep the tulips now? Amy mused. They'd need water. Marina remembered a vacant refrigerated storage room on the edge of Dornwell used by wholesalers. If Larissa had arranged access. Amy called for patrol units. They split up. Amy drove a squad car with 2 officers, while Marina accompanied, her heart hammering. The storage facility loomed, a squat brick building. Security guard at desk blinked as officers presented badges. He admitted a woman an hour earlier, claiming to collect perishable donation for charity. Inside, metal shelves lined chill aisles. Condensation clouded overhead bulbs. There, Marina whispered. Amid boxes of lettuce stood a white hat box tied with silver ribbon. Ungloved, Amy lifted the lid. 12 cobalt tulips lay in damp oasis foam, heads still vibrant. Marina involuntarily reached, tears stinging her eyes. "We have our bouquet," Amy exhaled. "Now we catch our thief." Patrol officers staked out the facility. 20 minutes later, a silver van squealed to curb. Tall woman in navy suit and floppy hat strode to door. Detectives intercepted. Larissa Sadowski's composure crumbled within minutes. Confronted with surveillance evidence, she confessed. "They stole my reputation first," she spat, glaring at Marina. "I had to prove she was fraud too." "She isn't," Amy said gently. "You are under arrest for theft, impersonation, and attempted fraud." Marina watched Larissa led away. Relief mingled with sorrow for a colleague who'd succumbed to spite. Amy handed Marina the hat box. "Go, revive them." Back at her apartment, Marina trimmed stems, refreshed water with floral preservative, whispered apologies to each tulip. By dawn, they preened once more, as though nothing had happened. At 8 a.m., Marina stood on platform 9 of Union Station, bouquet cradled. Tamika thanked her with misted eyes. When Princess Elin arrived, cameras flashed as the mayor presented the cobalt blossoms. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The princess beamed, lifting petals to her cheek. Marina exhaled the longest breath of her life. Later, she and Amy met at a cafe overlooking the river. Sun glittered on the surface, and gulls shrieked overhead. "Case closed," Amy said, raising a croissant. "You saved the day." "We saved it," Marina corrected. The detective grinned. "Market security is updating protocols. No more single blind spots." Marina nibbled her scone, serenity settling in. Yet another realization surfaced. "The tulips, Amy. They survived because they were cut fresh. But next year, I'll ask the Dutch grower to ship them with microhydration tubes." "Already planning next year," Amy laughed. "That's my Marina." They clinked coffee mugs. Back at the market, vendors exchanged stories about the great blue bouquet caper. Evie delivered Marina a thank you card written in stunning ultramarine ink, made, she said, from ethically sourced cornflower, not tulips. Claude declared Marina a market legend, Greg offered lifetime free coffee, and even Rita sent a peace lily with a pun. No hard peelings. As Marina reopened her stall, a new shipment arrived, this time pale pink tulips. She inhaled their sweet scent, knowing that if drama ever struck again, she had allies, a formidable detective friend, and the unwavering spirit of Dornwell Market behind her. But for now, the only mystery she wished to solve was whether to mix the pink tulips with lavender stock or cream ranunculus in tomorrow's window display. She smiled, selecting stems like notes for a quiet song, grateful that in the bustling heart of the city, beauty still outshone envy, and a single bouquet could remind everyone what honest hands could achieve.